we're glad to have you join us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguilera. They are the future builders. Daily, they make sacrifices to shape generations to generations, no doubt. Teachers are the true heroes. Now, teaching is a noble and rewarding profession. Teachers play a pivotal role in the entire educative process, imparting knowledge, skills, values, and mentoring of learners. However, the teaching profession is still evolving, with challenges in the education sector, especially in developing countries. The Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria has a mandate to oversee the registration and regulation of teachers across the country, ensuring quality education through professional standards and continuous development. Now, key players have continued to advocate for the prioritization of teachers' welfare and professional development. And the federal government, on its part, has continued to demonstrate commitment to teachers' development. Now, one of such moves is the launch of the Edo Revamp online teacher professional development portal. It was designed to continuously upskill teachers, strengthen professionalism, and align teaching practice with national development goals. Now, this was at the National Teachers Summit, the first of its kind, which was held recently with the theme, Empowering Teachers, Strengthening the System, a national agenda for education, transformation, and sustainability. Now, it is to advance sustainable education reforms in the country. So our focus on Platform is the revitalization of teaching profession in Nigeria. And our guest is Dr. Ronke Shoyombo. She is the Registrar and Chief Executive of the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. Thank you so much, Dr. Shoyombo, for joining us on Platform.
And thank you so much for inviting me.
Great. Dr. Ronke Shoyombo is an educationist, a business lawyer, a prolific writer, and a Microsoft certified professional with more than 30 years teaching experience in the country and the United Kingdom, of course, where she earned a name for herself as a stickler for high standards and quality performance. She is highly skilled in utilizing information and communication technology to aid learning in schools. Which led to her appointment as the ICT coordinator and team leader that was in London, where she became the first black advanced skilled teacher for ICT in Lambeth Borough, London. She used to be the head teacher of 2 top schools in London and, of course, Nigeria, where she was instrumental in helping many underperforming schools to improve and attain higher standards. Her years in the education sector availed her cognitive competence and quality assurance and evaluation, stakeholder engagement, budget and resource, you name it. I'll just go through some of her academic records. She has a first degree in chemistry education, LLB in business law from London Guildham University, which is now London Metropolitan University, Masters of Science in Education Ethics, PhD in Professional Ethics with specialization in Educational Ethics. She was appointed the first Director General of the Lagos State Education Quality Assurance. And in August 2019, she became the Special Advisor to the Ogun State Governor. That was for education. Deputy Secretary General of Africa Federation of Teaching Regulatory Authority. Dr. Shoyombo is also an advocate for women empowerment, and she still does that till date, serving as the National Director of the APC Professionals Women Council. Okay, so we'll leave the profile there. Well done, Dr. Shoyombo.
Thank you.
Well done. So, placed on Platform is one of our education correspondents here in NTA, Olainka Ojo. Olainka, thank you for being on the platform.
Thank you, Ruth.
Always a pleasure. Dr. Shoyombo, first of all, I'd like to congratulate the education sector, let's put it like that. We saw the first summit, National Summit for Teachers, which was really, really commendable, highly commendable, by the way. And we saw teachers getting bags of money, like they've never seen it this good. But I'd like to take us back. You're a teacher. You started in Nigeria before moving out of the country. And we've seen the way the teaching profession has been labeled, so to say, the stereotype before now, and what is changing. We're seeing a game-changing situation right now. For you, how would you say we've fared as a nation if you want to look at the trajectory?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Ruth, for inviting me this evening. Today. I must say, education is the best thing that can ever happen to anybody.
Yeah.
And if you're actually in that sector working, you've got to, you can be made, and also it comes naturally as well. And there's no doubt about it that some of the best performing educationists in England, they're Nigerians. And most of us got baked from this system. So that's to tell you that education has been very good in Nigeria. The only thing is we've got quite a lot of loopholes at the moment. And that is something we all need to work on. And everybody has got to come together and make education to be at the front burner of every decision that we're making. That how can we all have all hands on deck to see how we can transform education back. Because when it comes to the best performing, this is me going out now. When it comes to the best performing school in England at the moment for students in the secondary sector, it's been led. The school is actually being led by a Nigerian. And we have a community where we all talk. So there's a lot that people are bringing back home. And also, Nigeria has given us a very, very solid foundation. Because in those days, you get trained for basic education, for both primary and secondary education. And although we cannot keep on leaning on what has happened in the past, we've got to come forward now to see what is it that has gone wrong, what is it that we need to do. There's a lot to be done at the moment. Every stakeholder has got to see that our main priority should be how can we get education back to where it was, or how can we get it better. And that's because we've got to, and that's something that I have to really give kudos to this set of government that we have under the renewed hope, because we have a very good minister that is seriously up and doing, and the kind of people you're bringing into the setup, it matters. You need educationists in it.
Yeah.
We've got, at the end of affairs, a man that has a clear vision that, okay, under the nursery, these are the 6 areas that I want to touch. And with the current minister that we have, is taking TVET, because that's technical, vocational, and educational technology. Is taking that as an ultimate goal, that let people have more hands-on, because you've got those students that are very kinesthetic, because not everybody will go into academics.
Of course.
So we've got to promote that area. We've got the out-of-school children is looking at that. We've got standard under quality assurance, and we've got data and digitization. Now, to mention but a few, but the key one you will see is, and that's something that we are saying in TRCN, and that's something we want to do, because number one thing is, how do you develop your teachers?
Because it's part of the DOTS initiative, the teachers training.
Yeah, because the teachers are very, very important. They are the key players. We have had a lot of initiatives in Nigeria before. There was an initiative, I cannot remember, I don't want to mention the state now. There was a state that brought a lot of iPads to all the children that didn't work. And it didn't work because they did not train teachers as at that time. So children were given iPads. So you've got to actually look at leadership. What's leadership and management looking like? What's teaching looking like? So you've got to train the leaders of schools, because leaders of schools have got to understand that learning outcome is the key word. And that's something that I brought back from England, really. And that's something that in all the states, even when I was being trained in Lagos here, we knew that the main thing for you as a practitioner in education is, what is the learning outcome looking like?
Okay, Dr. Soyombo, I know you have a lot you want to share with us, so we'll break it down, especially talking about the EDU revamp.
Yes, talking about the issue around education and teachers. Don't you think a trust fund that will cater for the needs of these teachers should be in place?
I'm sure every help will count, because I'm not going to say no to that. Because with Education Trust Fund, we can move a long way. Because there's a lot that we can do. Because if you empower teachers, where we can actually comfort them and raise the profile of teachers. I don't know if you saw that when you came for the Teacher Summit. Those teachers that actually got the award, everything, if you go back to their classrooms now, the narratives would have changed. They will put all their best into education because, look, I have been rewarded. Somebody that didn't have a house already has a house. Somebody that didn't have a car has a car. So we've all got to look at how can we raise the profile of teachers in Nigeria. And that should be our ultimate goal, if you see what I mean. Because we made you journalists, sorry, forgive me now, you guys are seated beside me, but we made you. Some teachers taught you.
Yes.
We made the medical doctors. We made the engineers. So we are the mother of all profession. So why should we be relegated?
True.
So we've got to raise the profile of teachers. If teachers can actually be in the best, because we've got to update them, we've got to upskill them, we've got to keep them abreast of all the changes, because what worked in those days, unfortunately, cannot work in the education of today.
We're seeing the evolution.
Yeah, because with the 21st century child, as at that time, you can stand in front and tell me all the things that you want to teach me. But if you stand in front of the class now and teach me that same thing, that means you're so myopic, because I'm only going to learn what you know. And you may not know as much as the child knows. So what we're saying is you've got to really stand back, facilitate learning, and that's what makes you to be an outstanding practitioner. So you've got to empower your children. They've got to actually take ownership of their learning. And all those key things are very, very important in education today.
Which is what the Edu revamp is trying to change. I'm talking about the narrative. A fantastic initiative, by the way. So tell us about this Edu revamp. It may sound new to some persons, but I know it's going to change a lot when it comes to the teaching profession. Yeah. The network, you know, their professionalism and all of that. Please break it down.
Okay. From the Edu revamp, you will see that it's a professional, it's for continuous professional development. And for every teacher, if they can keep themselves abreast of changes, if they understand what pedagogy, at the moment we have lots of programs on that Edu revamp that are very, very good. And what I really love about teachers is within the first 2 days, 8,000 people registered. Wow. What else could we have asked for? Wow. And that tells you that the teachers in Nigeria are seriously hungry for good education, for good support with continuous professional development. Yeah. And that's something that Minister has prioritized. So on that Edu revamp, you've got a lot on COP, that's community of practice. Okay. Because we've got some excellent practitioners in Nigeria that know what is supposed to take place in the classroom, and let those excellent practitioners work with other teachers, and those are the kind of things that they can learn in the Edu revamp. We've got a lot on pedagogy as well, because you may be a brilliant graduate. That does not make you a brilliant teacher.
True.
Because how do you break it down? In your classroom, you have the 3 families. You've got the gifted and the talented children. They need somebody that can actually teach them above the cognitive ability level of what is expected. In that same class, you've got the middle ability children. You've got the passive learners. They never put up their hands. They never talk in class. They don't have confidence. They are looking at you. So those are all the things that Edu revamp is bringing to our teachers, that these are the things you need to learn. You've got the less able children. How do you actually bring that lesson down to their level? You know, you've got to be able to cascade it to their own level. How do you, what are those resources that you're going to use for their own benefit? Because what you will understand as a gifted and talented person is not the same thing that I may be able to understand if I'm a less able child. Yeah. So all those things, so those are the kind of things that we're talking about, that you cannot just be a graduate and go and teach our children. So pedagogy is very important. Another thing that we must not fail to realize is there's a lot on digital literacy. Because we've got to speak the language that the 21st century child understands. Sure. Your language is completely different from the children of today. Yeah. If I give you phone, maybe you just want to send me text message, you just want to make a call, and you just want to get your bank account done. But if I give it to a 10-year-old, the 10-year-old would actually perform 10 different things on that phone.
Tell me about that.
Speak the language that the children can understand. Enough of us just speaking our own language. Because if you're teaching them just those things of the past, they're tired, they're sick, and sometimes, I don't know, when you take the children out, they'll say, Mom, I'm bored. Mom, I'm bored. If they're bored in your lesson, they cannot actually get any understanding. Yeah. So how do we make it captivating? Go to Edu revamp. You've got to captivate the children. You've got to carry them along. How can we? Because some of them are kinesthetic learners. If all you're doing is just to stand in front of the children and saying 2 + 2, what am I saying? The children will just be looking at you that continue saying it. When you tell me to stop, you know. But if you involve them in practical lessons, it makes the lesson more profound.
And more fun.
More fun.
Yeah.
And it gets a deeper understanding they never forget. So that's why you've got to allow children, and those are the kind of things that Edu Revamp is actually teaching our teachers.
Okay.
So our teachers will see that they can update their skills. I mean, part of the things that we're bringing later will be safeguarding. Because with safeguarding, it makes every child to know what is expected. Because you've got to make sure those children are fully protected in your classes.
No doubt, Edu Revamp is a laudable initiative.
Very laudable.
But will this initiative cater for teachers with special needs?
Okay. That's something that I will need to definitely look at. But at the same time, what we're very conscious of at the moment in the ministry is every development we're doing, we're making sure that we cater, we're very inclusive in our thoughts. Because if you go, for example, to trcn.gov.ng, you will see a button on the left-hand side, and it's a blue button, and that particular button is referring to people with needs to have access.
Okay.
Initially, I mean, before I joined, I'm sure I joined TRCN about 8 months ago. When we run an exam, we waive exam for people with needs. We say, don't worry, we will give you a waiver because you've got, you've got hearing impediment or whatever. But now, we actually invite them, and they love it because they don't like to be pitied. They want to be part of the exam. The only thing is we might give them more time to access examination.
And
that's something that's...
providing assistive devices to aid this learning.
We provide all that now.
Okay, because what I'm saying that if you're looking at, I was just going through the Edu Revamp, some of the key areas, and the curriculum relevance is one of it.
Yeah.
Now, for a teacher with special needs, we saw a teacher summit who spoke very well. He's visually impaired, and he's also a special needs teacher. You could see the whole irony. Now, for a teacher like that, what will be done, especially in the aspect of, carrying his students along to key into the Edu Revamp initiative? Yeah.
I mean, with TRCN, I won't say I'm doing so much on that because I do mainly the professional qualifying exam. But I'm sure UBEC is also, I mean, that's Ajia, Aisha. And I know she's doing a lot on how to actually make education more inclusive. How can we work with people with needs? So in terms of resources that we need to use, that's something. And don't forget that with the kind of minister we have, you will not work with Dr. Tunji Alausa and not provide for people with needs. Because he will tell you that, okay, you've done this, so what about the people with needs? How are you going to support them? You will see that even when that teacher was coming, transportation, everything was done. So that's the same way we expect them to be catered for in schools. We're not fully there yet, but we are definitely working towards that.
Recently, or for like 5 years now, there's been continuous repetition of riot acts. No unqualified teacher must be found or seen in the classroom. What's the situation as at today? Thank
you very much. There was actually a press release, I think, if my memory serves me well, that was June last year, that come 2026, at least 75% of our teachers in classes must be TRCN certified. That's something we're working on at the moment. And with that, some people were a bit apprehensive about it, that, oh, how are we going to do it? How are we going to get all these teachers to do this? But the good thing about Dr. Tunji Alausa is he will never give any instruction and not have support strategy for teachers. So you will see that when he was actually speaking at the Teacher Summit, he spoke about ATPP, and that's Accelerated Teacher Professionalization Pathway. So in as much as we want to make sure that every teacher in the classroom, and when I say teachers in classroom, because under the renewed hope, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will make it clear to you that I'm not just for children in the public schools, but I'm for children in both public and private schools. So the provision that we have made at the moment is under the Accelerated Teacher Program, there's going to be like a 6-month program.
Okay.
And instead of you going into schools for 1 year, this will be an accelerated program for 6 months. And for 6 months, they will still do similar thing to what they would have done as if it was 1 year. So that's something they're doing at the moment. So we're arranging that. And hopefully, for my minister to have mentioned that at the last summit, I mean, we're just at the finishing stage now in order to launch it out fully. So that's something that we're preparing. So all teachers that do not have teaching qualification that cannot be certified by TRCN now will actually have opportunity if they have been teaching, if they can prove that they've been teaching for 12 months and above, and they've been excellent practitioners. So those are all the things. So we expect people to actually practice teaching effectively well. If they have all that, they will be entitled to come for ATPP. Okay. With ATPP as well, you will see that will, because with 6 months program, it will help a lot of our teachers in stabilizing themselves, because it's one thing to be a graduate. The fact that you are a graduate does not mean you are a brilliant teacher.
It just takes me to teachers and the grassroots, because a lot of these initiatives, sometimes they are relegated, maybe because of, I don't know if you're working on data at the moment. I know you're barely a year in office, yeah, but I know you've digitized the record and registration of teachers. So for those in the grassroots who are still making the same sacrifice as those in the urban centers, what is the need for them? How are they going to be carried along? I'm talking about that teacher in a community or a village, you know, that his students are even not having enough infrastructure. You get what I mean?
Yeah, thank you very much. Unfortunately, you didn't come for the second day of the summit, because part of the things that we launched, before I was born, people were saying standard in Nigeria was really bad. Now that I'm almost a grandmother, people are still talking that standard is bad. Yeah. Are we going to just fold our hands and continue mourning? So what have we done as an agency? We had about 60 practitioners, outstanding practitioners, from the 6th geopolitical zone of Nigeria. And what they did was they've been able to write prescripted lesson plans, and that was something we launched on the second day of the event. So teachers are all over the moon about this at the moment. It's Teacher Supporting Teachers initiative. So those lesson plans that they have done, they have differentiated them. So there are they've made provision for the gifted and talented children in every class, and also the less able and the middle ability. But at the same time, don't forget that TRCN has offices in all the 36 states of Nigeria, and conveniently, we can, teachers can reach out to us, and teachers can still use their devices. Because even though you say teachers are in the rural area now, the teachers in the rural areas, they're coming out to do a lot on professional qualifying exam. So with that now, every teacher can have access to prescripted lesson plan. Because at the main ultimate goal of TRCN, I mean, when you go to Nigerian Bar Association platforms, you will see that you can get a lot on journals, a lot on different cases to support yourself as a lawyer. But at the same time, with TRCN now, you come on a website, you can easily get a lot of resources that can support learning. Yeah. So with that, and we didn't just do prescripted lesson plan, because you also have the gifted and talented teachers who are working above the normal cognitive ability level. So what have we done? Everybody talks about AI. We're in the life of AI now. So we've actually got, I mean, we've also launched AI-generated lesson platform for all teachers in Nigeria. Teachers, when they came for that program, were seriously enthused about it. And that's why what we're saying is teachers must go and propagate this to every community. And that was why Honorable Minister invited 10 teachers from every state as the leading champions to now go and tell them that we have all these resources, go and do this, go and get this done. So all those things are going to aid learning, because at the end of the day, we must look at what we're doing with our future leaders in Nigeria. We cannot afford to joke with education in Nigeria.
Dr. Soyombo, if I'll come in there, I'm just racking my brain right now. Imagining, I like the initiative of the teachers helping teachers, but imagine a situation where a teacher, now these are representative from each geopolitical zone, and then you get to a community, you want to impart that same knowledge you've acquired because you were opportuned, and they don't have that capacity in terms of the resources or logistics. Is the council or the ministry making provision as they go as ambassadors to spread the good news?
Thank you. The good thing is, because of the way that education has been decentralized, I mean, you will see that Ajia Garuba, the UBEC chairman, the UBEC ES, has a lot of great relationship with all our SUBEC chairmen in all the states.
Okay.
So, and most of the SUBEC chairmen were actually at the event where this particular initiative was launched. So a lot of them, what they were saying was, please give us the details, give us this, give us that. A lot of them are going back to see how they can cascade all this to their states.
Okay.
At the moment, I've got Nasarawa at the moment, to mention but a few. We've got some states where they're inviting us, we want to do our recruitment, come and join us, if you see what I mean. And we had states that we've done career pathway that we did in Enugu with 19,250 teachers. It helped us to tell them where their teachers are. It helped us to tell them what they needed to do, because professional development is good, but you've got to actually test people, you've got to identify the gaps, you've got to do needs assessment so that you're not just using one cap fitting all.
Exactly.
You understand? So that's something that a lot of people are using TRCN for. So there's a lot of things that governors are now beginning to see that, look, I want to raise standard in my state. I want education to get better. So we've all got to work together to see what resources we have and how can we support states. So we're ready.
Okay.
A rider to Ruth's earlier question, I had an interaction with a teacher who exercised this fear of costs. Are there cost implications for the initiative?
Thank you very much. I don't want to stand as if I'm a sycophant to my honorable minister. And I have to really give this to him because it didn't come from me. But part of the things that he has actually done now is that he has started, and we are part of that, is the zero-rated initiative. So teachers will be able to access a lot of all these resources. So all of us, for example, the TRCN now, TRCN and other platforms, with the Edu revamp as well, as time goes on, by the time we finish with the zero-rated initiative, everybody will be able to access freely. So teachers are seriously going to enjoy. So teachers in the village will be able to actually enjoy all these facilities effectively well, because at the end of the day, it's about improving the standard of all our children.
You know, you mentioned the state government involvement, you know, giving their support. We know some states are actually doing what they're supposed to do. Kaduna State, for instance, last year they organized the Edu Pact.
Yeah.
I happened to be at that event.
I think I was there too.
Yes. And it's one great initiative because we saw stakeholders come together. Let's talk real business. Let's look at it from the grassroots, the out-of-school children and all of that. Now, narrowing it to the teachers' aspect, what is the synergy you're getting, you know, from state governments? We know Borno State is another state showing immense commitment, you know, to revamping education. So what are they saying? What is I know some were seeing the body language as positive, but if you have to go round, because if it's not being domesticated, some of these policies implemented in the states, then what you're doing at the top will not get to the bottom.
Thank you very much. I must say that we had an event recently with Governors Forum, where all the governors, Nigerian Governors Forum, where everybody actually sat down to talk about what is the way forward. We had a lot of panelist discussions at that event. And not only that, you will see that there are bits and pieces, as you said, going on in different states. The only thing is what we're propagating, and we do meet with governors, what we're propagating, because, I mean, like the professional qualifying exam that we did last in November, that was for 26,650 teachers.
Wow.
Where conveniently we did a very good analysis, and it showed us the picture. Because now that we test in just 5 areas, foundational maths, foundational English, digital literacy, safeguarding, and pedagogy. Digital literacy foundational literacy stood out as an area to work with, particularly in some regions. In a particular region, literacy was so low, completely low. So that's part of the things that we discuss. You understand? And I'm sure my minister is going to be discussing that with governors as well. But that, from what you're saying now, it would be nice for us to also still discuss that and write to individual governors of the state of their result, because it shows the picture of where they are as a state. And it shows clearly what are the things you can do. How can I support my state more? But definitely, is something, because commissioners are working a lot with us as well.
Yes, and why I asked that question is because of the teachers' welfare, which we're definitely going to pick up with. But right now, we have to take a break. Do stay tuned. We'll be back. All right, thank you for staying tuned. The conversation is on revitalization of the teacher's profession in Nigeria, of course. Before we took that break, Dr. Soyombo, I was going to pick up on the teacher's welfare, but I'm sure Olayinka has a question.
Yes, you said something about your last PQE exercise where over 70% or over 70% made it.
Okay.
My question is, what areas of strength and what areas of weakness did you notice during the conduct of the examination?
Thank you very much. I must say that clearly the exam we did, because prior to the exam, what we did was to actually send resources online so that people can read, because initially before I joined TRCN, we were testing in 23 areas. And I felt, and when we looked at it, whatever TRCN is doing and is not going to make impact on the child in the classroom is not really important.
Yeah.
So, and you and I, I'm sure, as brilliant as you may be, you may not be able to pass 23 subjects, because what do you want to read for it? So we now narrowed it down. I have a very formidable team. We were able to narrow it down to 5 areas. Number one was foundational maths, foundational literacy, because it's only the education of today that teachers will say, oh, I'm a primary school teacher, I cannot teach maths at all, I only teach English. For God's sake, if you're a primary school teacher, you are supposed to be an excellent practitioner in most of the subjects in primary school, you know. And so we expect everybody coming for professional qualifying exam to sit for our exam in foundational maths, foundational literacy, and digital literacy is very vital to us at the moment. So there are quite a lot of resources online now that people can access so that they practice, and they also can practice in classes. Pedagogy is another one, and the last but not the least is safeguarding. So and that's something we tested everybody on. But I must say, in the 80% area of the questions, teachers did really well on the safeguarding, pedagogy, foundational maths, and also a bit better. Foundational maths was tricky, and digital literacy was also tricky. But the main one that was cause for concern was the foundational literacy. Literacy skills is still very, very low, and we all need to work towards that, because if we can get literacy skills right, it's a platform for us to flourish in every other subject.
Which is part of what Yinka asked earlier, in the aspect of purging out quackery in the system, getting qualified teachers, to do the job. How are you regulating that? Are schools really complying? Because sometimes some schools, according to reports, because of the need to want to keep teachers that they can underpay, they don't mind the quality of teachers they have. You know what I'm talking about.
I must say, I must give a lot of kudos to our public schools, because public schools, in all honesty, we have a lot of qualified teachers. Yes. Not fully, but I must say, at least categorically speaking, I can say 80% of our teachers are qualified teachers. But in our private schools, we have lots of teachers that are not qualified. Some are not qualified, but very intelligent. And they can actually challenge our children. However, what we're propagating is let them come in for pedagogy. And some, they are not qualified, and the standard is so low that what you don't have, you can actually give it. Yeah. You can imagine where we're using primary 6 children to go and teach in low-income schools. In some cases, they give the SSC students, the school certificate students, to go and teach in some of our schools. And what are they teaching? Standard at all times must be kept for our students to actually do well. So with all that, I must say, with the new ATPP pathway, the Accelerated Teacher Professionalization pathway that we're working towards now, that's really going to help a lot of teachers in ensuring that they understand what is expected. How do you teach those children? And that is actually making them to take more responsibility in classes now than how it used to be before. Because now everybody is beginning to understand that you cannot go to our classes if you don't pass professional qualifying exam. When you pass professional qualifying exam, we have the SLA, that's the service level agreement, within a week for us to release our result. And now that we've digitized it, you will see that if we release the result, we send you SMS to say, oh, Ruth, you've actually, congratulations, you've passed your PQA exam. Please go online to take yourself to the necessary stage. So the first stage will be getting yourself certified. And you get certified. You get that certificate only once in a lifetime. Yeah. But the one we expect teachers to have is licenses. You know, as soon as you get your license, after 3 years, you are expected to renew your license. Because you cannot be a practitioner in the classroom without having a valid license.
Are they compliant?
Teachers are trying their best. They are.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we're working with quite a lot of association leaders. The NAPS Association, that's the Nigerian Association of Private Proprietors. We're working with them. We have about 18 associations controlling most private schools in Nigeria. So we're working with them at the moment. And the other thing is we've co-opted some of them into a council as well. Okay. So that they are part of the council, so they take ownership of whatever we're deciding. Because what TRCN will never do is to make a policy without the practitioners being part of that policy. Because if not, things will just be on the shelf. And that's not something
they need to own it.
They need to own it, yes. So we're doing that, and that's really helping us.
Okay.
Yes. I would like to go back to issues around quackery. Are there penalties meted on schools found wanting?
Okay.
With reference particularly private schools.
Yeah. With the press release that my minister released, you will see that we've given everybody the leeway for 2026 to actually have 75% of their teachers to be TRCN certified. And by the end of 2027, all teachers must be TRCN certified. But don't forget that at the moment, we're also taking the act that create that area. We're also reviewing ourselves. So that's something that we're going to be working on. But at the same time, in terms of quackery as well, don't forget that even though we have the right to professionalize teachers, we also have the right to strike teachers off. And that's something we did on the second day of the summit, where we showed everybody the hotline number of where to call should there be any problem in terms of sexual offense with teachers. Because safeguarding, that's why we're very hot on safeguarding. You cannot be a pedophile and be going from one school to the other. You cannot be molesting our children. So now everybody has the hotline to actually call. So with that, it makes everybody to know that it's not going to be business as usual. Because as soon as a case like that, we're still working on that because we're going to be bringing out criminal record database as well for teachers. You can have criminal record on maybe drink driving. That does not make you, we won't stop you from teaching in our schools. But if you have criminal record on sexual offense, for God's sake, don't come near our children.
Exactly.
You know, you cannot be going all around as a pedophile in any of our schools. And that's something we're propagating. So we're working at the moment with police as well to see how we can collaborate with the police so that all those things can actually be, we can synergize with them and see that our schools are sanitized.
You know, because it's very important for these school owners to do proper and due diligent check before you bring someone close to children. Yeah. Now, I know there was also the launch of the teacher investigating panels. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about it. You've mentioned the two-pronged approach to enhancing professional standards, but let's hear about the investigative panel. What is their job?
The Teachers Investigative Panel has been created in every state now.
Okay.
And what we're doing is to work with every Ministry of Education. So if there's any problem with a teacher, I mean, sometimes it can be the other way around as well, because we can solicit for our teachers, because we've got to protect our teachers. Sometimes people are actually handled wrongly. Like there was a case in Abuja recently where a teacher was badly dealt with.
By the parent.
By the parent.
You saw the video.
Oh, yes.
It went viral.
And
you know,
our office
really
was part of that, and we took a lot of, I mean, we gave a lot of support to teachers like that. So those are the kind of things that TRCN is doing, that we're professionalizing teachers, but at the same time, we must support our teachers. And that's something we're doing.
So the panel is supposed to...
So the panel, what they do is they sit on different cases, and we work collaboratively, as I said, with the police force, and to see how, and also Ministry of Justice, to see how we can actually deal with cases and make sure that, because if there's a judgment against a teacher, you cannot come back to class and be teaching our children.
Oftentimes, people see the teaching profession as the last resort, and there's this belief that the teacher's reward is in heaven.
It's no more in heaven.
So how do we change this narrative?
Thank you, because with what we did last week at the summit, where 400 teachers actually sat with Our Excellency, the First Lady, and that's Senator Oluremi Tinubu, that raised the profile of teachers. That made them to be very happy. That actually gave them some sense of satisfaction that, is it us here at the State House, not even just any ordinary hall? So to me, what minister is trying to do, the two ministers, you will see that what they're trying to do is, let's raise the profile of teachers. Let them feel happy with what they have. And that's where we have started with the reward. And not only that, we are looking at quite a lot of other areas. But I'm sure my minister is going to come up with a lot of things that he's trying to do for teachers. NUT, everything we're doing at the moment, NUT is part of us. We are talking together, because in ensuring that our teachers are very comfortable, but at the same time, you can be comfortable, but you may not give the best. So what we are asking for is, please, let's balance the whole thing on the table. Let's make sure the children are getting the best education ever, because we want our children to get the best education. I mean, for example, at the NCE, that's the National Conference, we had the NCE, and that was the one we had in Ondo last year. I mean, this year. Sorry, last year. We're now in the new year now. And that was where we said, now English is the ultimate, that everybody must speak English to all our children, right from the early stage. It does not mean we have abandoned our language. Our language can be spoken, but don't forget that when you and I went to school, we started with a 2. Because a child between 0 to 6 conveniently can take at least 4 languages. 3 languages conveniently well without missing it. So it's very important that our children, particularly from ages 0 to 6, because when the child is older than 6, if you and I travel out, for example now, the two of us, if we spend 6 months in England, our accents, they're not likely to change, because our accents are already formed.
Yes.
But if we take a 5-year-old with us, by the time the 5-year-old is coming after 6 months, accent would have changed. And that's because that child is at the formative stage. And that's something that for the first time, this particular administration has taken a decision on, that let's introduce English also right from the formative stage, because we don't want to lose anybody at all. And we want everybody, I mean, it doesn't mean we must use that language, the Hausa language, the Yoruba language, the Igbo language must be respected. And when you look at what we have done, the lesson plans that we have done, we've done lesson plans in all the 3 areas as well, so that our children are fully engaged with our languages, but at the same time, they should understand English right from the early start, because we're still Anglophone.
Yeah. You know, Yinka has asked the question, and if we hadn't put it on the table, talking about the welfare, I'm sure teachers watching us at home will not forgive us. Because, you know, it's just one thing. We've had it right from when we're young. The teacher's reward is in heaven, but it's good that You came with a bang, you brought in new reforms, which you've seen to the end that it is well implemented. Because it's one thing to have some of these initiatives just documented and not following up to ensure that they are actually implemented. So what is your vision board looking like?
Right, my vision board for welfare of teachers, number one, is how do I make that job to be easy for them? And that's why the lesson plan has come in. Because you've taken the burden away from them. Every teacher now has resources to work with because they can adapt it to suit the needs of the children that they have. So you've taken that because, say for example, I have 3 children and I have my husband as well there. That means there are 4 people in the house to cater for. And you want me to be writing lesson plans every time? So, but that's something that TRCN has taken away from them, that look, let's see how we can do this, adapt it to suit the needs of the children, so that you are, because with that prescripted lesson plan, you've taken the burden off them. But at the same time, we still have our gaps. Because in some of our private schools, some of our teachers are paid stipends. And it's nothing to write home about. Even in some of our states, in our public schools as well, some of them are still on very, very low income.
And they're being owed.
Yes. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at, but I'm not really stressing so much on it because we're not fully there yet. So we're working on the ground on all this, if you see what I mean, because part of the things we're propagating to people is you can't have your teachers on low income wage. I mean, particularly teachers that are not paid the minimum wage. We've got to look at that. And in the nearest future, part of the things we want to look at is, I mean, I will give you an example. I remember when in Ogun State, when I was the special advisor, when a teacher was actually awarded a car. A teacher was given a car. And by the 4th day, when we call on the teacher, he already sold the car. And when I asked him, I said, why would you do that? He said, Ma, I'm on 20,000 a month. And there's no way I can maintain a car with 20,000 a month. So what we did as a state, as at that time, was to actually give him a permanent position. Because he was one of the best performing teachers in one of our private schools. So those are the kind of things that we are propagating with all our school leaders, that we've got to remunerate teachers well. We've got to see how they can be supported more. And that's why it's good that we're working with the leaders. But at the same time, men would always wear their trousers one at a time. So we're still wearing the first one. So we'll be looking at the second part of it towards a Q4.
And I want to believe that the NUT is closely working with school owners to ensure that teachers are not paid below the minimum wage.
I wouldn't say yes on that yet. But as I said, because we've got quite a lot of targets, and what we've done is to make sure we timetable ourselves. The digital platform that we launched on the 26th of August was actually our 100 days target. And we had the 6 months target, which we have achieved now. And we had, now we're into Q1 of 2026. But with the wages, with quite a lot of things, is coming before the end of this year. So we'll work on that. So I don't want to talk on that until when I see all the stakeholders together.
I know there's a lot we could talk about, but thank you very much, Dr. Ronke Soyombo. Well done. You know, the good job you're doing, the innovations you're bringing, and we'll keep our eyes on the prize. And of course, well done. We want to commend TRCN for the job they're doing. Thank you so much for coming on platform.
Thank you.
Thank you. Olayinka Ojo, there's millions being rewarded now.
Yes, with the recent initiative, permit me to use this word. Teaching profession made easy.
Yes, it made easy. You know, I was actually contemplating changing profession, but we'll leave that conversation for
I look forward to having the two of you back in the classroom. It will be fun.
It will be fun. All right, thank you so much. And yes, we've been talking about ways to revitalize the teaching profession in Nigeria. And there's a lot, you know what they say, that no nation can rise above the quality of its teachers. And let me use this opportunity to say thank you for the sacrifices you're making. Yes, you, who is a teacher out there, thank you so much. We recognize your hard work, your resilience, your dedication, your passion. Keep up the good work. We celebrate you. And that's Platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele.